Good evening and welcome to Cellbase. It's Adam and Eve time. Yes, you may have heard of Adam and Eve, but you might not know what John's going to cover today. Over to you, John.
Right, thank you. Um, I want to start Adam and Eve with a completely um, different story. Okay, I want to look at the world deluge stories um, from Noah because there's actually hundreds of those stories around. Um, that I mean, even the Americas, we're talking about the Aztecs had a story of about a husband and wife surviving a global flood by building a boat and landing on a mountain. Now, the reason I've started with that is that it's the same for the stories or the legends or whatever you want to call them, featuring a pair of original human progenitors, often tasked with guarding a sacred space, learning morality, or facing a defining choice. And they are common across global traditions, with hundreds of accounts from around the world, um, having their origins in truth and spread and adapted for an ever expanding population from a central point. Some of the most prominent narratives with similar themes include, and this is where it gets quite interesting, Asken Embula, which is actually Norse mythology. Um, there was two bits of wood that were created and turned into human beings. Um, Masha and Marshana, which is Buddhism, um, and they were created um, and given souls. Like Adam and Eve, they initially lived in a state of purity, but were then tempted by an evil spirit who convinced them he was the creator. Now, I just find it quite interesting. The stories have um, a truth in them, a biblical truth in them, but have been adapted to fit into the society that they go to. Um, Now, there's one, Enek and Niti, which is Sumerian. They talk about um, a lady there called, who was created called Nikti, which actually means the lady of the rib. So we've got this story running. It's not just in Genesis. There's a whole. It's spread obviously from Noah. The flood story has spread out from that point in Noah and would have taken creation and everything else with it. Um, but it's been adapted into different cultures. Now, I'll just bring this up because some people have brought it up in the past. Jewish folklore, Lilith, anybody heard of Lilith? Was actually considered Adam's first wife and was made of the dust of the earth like him. She claimed equal status with him and refused to lie under him because of it. Because she considered herself equal, she wouldn't lie underneath him or become subservient to him. Lilith fled the Garden of Eden and refused to come back, at which point she was cursed um, and would seek to kill Adam's sons. That's us. Uh, Having no wife, was then given a submissive wife called Eve, who would obey him. Um, Now, to me, that's not quite the story, but it's actually folklore, but it was 1,000 years later. But people have mentioned Lilith before as being Adam's first wife, and it's not there really. I mean, Adam was the first man created by God in the Bible, placed in a garden, He was given the task of tending the earth. After he and his wife Eve disobeyed God's rules by eating forbidden fruit, they were expelled from the garden, and the event is known as the fall of man. The study of Adam, foundation in the story of Adam is foundational truth to Judeo-Christianity, and is told in the early it's in Genesis 1 and 2. So to me, and I don't know how anybody else feels, if there's one story, if it was just in the Bible, but then you've got lots of other examples, knowing where it came from. The lady of the river's got to come from Eve. And the two being saved has got to come from, and upsetting the gods has got to come from Adam and Eve, the story. So it becomes a truth within it that not everybody sees. They think, a lot of people think it's just a nice story, but there's a truth within it that is recognized by the rest of the world.
Can I just
Um, uh,
ask if the lady in the river, now the only time that I can think of a lady in the water is within the stories of King Arthur.
The sword, yeah.
Yeah. Is that
yeah,
what you're
no, it's
referring to? Or are you referring to something completely different there?
completely different. The lady of the rib
Rib.
was Sumerian, but
Right.
yeah,
Do we know where
so
that original story came from a reference
from the
point?
Garden of Eden, because Eve was taken from the rib of Adam. It's just it was just a focus on other ones that actually sort of prove that there is a truth within the beginning
That's
of
in
our
Genesis.
Bible
That's
in
in Genesis.
Genesis that not everybody sees. Um, Now, create. Let's just. I'll just have a quick look at creation and Eden. Um, God formed Adam from the dust of the ground, breathing life into his nostrils and making him a living being. The garden, um, God placed Adam in a lush utopian paradise called the Garden of Eden. Then he created Eve to be his companion. God calls them to fall asleep, call him to fall asleep, and create the first woman using one of Adam's ribs. The rules and temptations, right? This is God gave Adam and Eve free reign over the garden. So just like there's no restrictions apart from not eating from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, or they would die. The serpent Satan, in the form of a deceptive serpent, tempted Eve by questioning God's rules and promising the eating of the fruit would make her and Adam like God. Eve ate, and so did Adam, the forbidden fruit, and caused all the problems. Now, what I love this, and I think it still happens today, that Satan, are you sure God said that? And the same questions keep coming up. Are you sure the Bible's true? Are you sure that Jesus died on the cross? Are you sure we didn't evolve from apes? There's always that uncertainty put towards us that comes from the original line in the Bible. Are you sure God said that? And
Yeah,
I
but
just, I just,
the Bible is true though, because like Jesus at the beginning, Satan come to him and he didn't bow down to Satan. That's why he got crucified in the end, because he didn't bow down to the devil. Do you know what I mean? At the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah, right. The consequences and the shame and the guilt of all that. It was the first time that Adam and Eve realized they were naked. Now, whether they're actually physically naked or whether they were exposed, because they didn't worry about the animals or the plants or what they ate. They just trusted God. Now, whether that nakedness was actually a physical nakedness or whether it was the stripping away of that faith and trust in God that left them vulnerable, and the shame, and they try to hide from God in the garden. I love, and God says, "Where are you?" God knew where they were. He does that to us. I've made a mistake, Lord. Really? What have you done? As if God doesn't know. And and then they were thrown out of the Garden of Eden. And God introduced pain, toil, and mortality to the human experience. I mean, I wonder what it was like before and what it will
Yeah.
be
Can I
like.
jump in? Was there no pain before this?
No,
Now, how do we know that?
it says so. There's no pain in childbirth.
No, I thought you said pain would be increased.
I've just
Am I
got up. It may be which Bible translation you read.
okay?
Mine is introduced pain and toil. I suppose it depends on how you look at it. I mean, toil. Adam was set there to do the garden,
Yeah.
which is
Did he
toil,
not? Yeah. Did he not have
or is
pain?
it
Did he have
joy?
backache? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, working for God, is it just joy? And
Right.
when you stop working alongside God, does it then become toil?
At which point, which Bible reference are we looking at? Are you
Yeah.
looking at a particular Bible, or which language are you referring from?
I just had I haven't got my Bible here at the moment. Mine's a different copy to everybody else's. It's the one I was given. So pain increase. Okay, let's go with pain increase then, because that seems to be the consensus of opinion.
Well, I'm just thinking, would Eden be considered a prior version of heaven where there will be no pain?
Um, oh, that's a good one. Or why didn't we just go straight to heaven? The big question then
Mm.
is, why did God create us? And why did he put us on earth and not straight to heaven, where there'd be no pain and no tears and no suffering?
Yeah. Yeah.
What would the
Well,
answer
he
Um,
be
put us
then?
on a he put us on earth to live and to carry on God's creation and to look after God's creation. That's why Jesus sacrificed for himself. Didn't he? I mean, he just didn't sacrifice us. He went through pain. He went through suffering. He went through whipping. He felt pain. So I mean, and that's why he did it for us to look after the earth and to look after what's on the earth. And that's why
yeah,
what started when Noah's Ark got built, and that's why he started the earth all over again, because of the evil what was around us, and that's why he ended up telling to say build the Noah's Ark again to flood it, to start again for for how do I put this, to put these humans to look after her. I might have come across a bit wrong, but yeah.
Jason, what's your view? You've stayed remarkably quiet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Um, what was the question?
Well, we'd like to hear your view on the Adam and Eve situation, the birth side of it. You're a person who's done a lot of study of the Bible, so as John prepares for the next series of thoughts, we thought I'd get yours.
Okay. When God spoke when it says about the serpent deceiving the woman, God spoke to Adam first. Don't eat from the apple and that. Then Adam would have told Eve, we're not allowed to eat from here. God didn't speak to Eve. So when the serpent come along and actually said, "Did God really say that?" He was hanging on a bit of a false truth because technically God didn't. Adam told her. So
Mm.
the deception is right there, where she would have said in her mind, "Well, no, actually, he didn't, but he told Adam." So you've got an issue. You've got a situation right there of why ain't the woman being submissive? And all the females now are going to start throwing knives in a minute. But also, the twist, it's the twist to it. Well, Adam told me she would have had that in her mind. But
Yeah,
when she took the taste of the apple, nothing happened at all. So if it was left there, then still nothing would have happened. It was until Adam took it that then you've got a massive problem. Because obviously Adam first, God created him out of dust. The amazing thing when John was saying about Eve would have come from the DNA from the rib, and that's the perfect place to get DNA. So the woman has got a perfect DNA. So if you think about that, the perfect DNA to reproduce, that's kind of an incredible kind of thing.
You're absolutely right there, Jason. But yeah, for bone marrow, it would be the best part to graft
yeah,
a clone.
Yeah,
But they wouldn't have known that, of course.
no,
We've only known that less than 100 years ago.
yeah,
We've got Bibles in our possession that are older than that, so we know that's true. And we also know that, of course, woman has an X chromosome, so is as man plus a bit more.
mm.
How is it? And again, written in the Bible, but scientifically proved, but written thousands of years ago.
But they still question it. Is it
I
still
know,
true?
I
Are
know.
you sure? It's like, come on, guys, it's there, it's plain black and white. The pain
yeah,
side of thing, I'm more to go down your line, what you were saying, because God says, I will increase.
Yes.
So the birth, there wasn't no kids when they were in Garden of Eden.
No, so she would have had no means of comparison. But my question was mostly about pain in general. Was there actually no pain in the Garden of Eden?
I put my personal thing, it was perfect. So
Yeah.
they were perfect.
Like, I don't think there was thorns and
No,
nettles because
nothing
no,
at
they
all.
were created when they were banished. The thorns would come
Yeah,
up.
yeah, because
Mm,
as soon as it come to the point of um leaving and God saying you will toil the earth and go to the earth, but you won't produce anything, that's when all the thorns and everything started to happen as well.
yeah. And I believe that it even had discomfort because they didn't need clothes. They didn't feel too hot or too cold.
They would
It
have
was
been
a perfect
naked.
environment.
They
Yeah.
yeah.
would,
They're in
for me, go on.
perfect place. Yeah, I mean, God basically put them both in a perfect situation so
Mm.
that they could evolve, if you like, or grow
Yeah,
um, to the best of their ability.
yeah.
You know, we would do it with our kids if we could find a perfect school that would bring them on, and that they were put in a situation where, you know, God created us so He could love us. We are an expression of His love, I think,
Mm.
and we give it back sometimes. But we are an expression of His love and His beauty.
Yeah.
Right now, because they got thrown out. Should we go to the throwing out bit now? Um, they had children, but they were actually outside. The first three were Cain, Abel, and Seth. After a long time, Adam actually passed away. It was the age of 930.
A good
And
age.
Adam's disappeared. Huh?
That's a good age to live to. I'd like that, but you know.
That's
Yeah,
not going to happen, I'm
932.
afraid.
No, Adam's disobedience is often contrasted with the righteousness of Christ, whose sacrifice is viewed as bringing new life and redemption to humanity. Do you put it right? Now, according to the Bible, the Apocrypha, if you want to include that in the Book of Jubilees, Cain married his sister after he got thrown out, after he killed his brother, because he got thrown out completely. Now, this is where I'm going to have to change over because it wouldn't print off. Hang on a second. And it's all highlighted in blue, so I know where I'm going. Right, there are other thoughts. Because obviously, once you start going down this line, being thrown out of the Garden of Eden, you do realize that that was the first communion ever. Yeah, because God slaughtered an animal
Mm-hmm.
and clothed them.
Yeah, it's a sheep, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first shedding of blood
Yeah.
because of sin was by
Mm.
God Himself
Yeah.
to cover their nakedness. And I just thought that was, we don't often pick up on that's quite beautiful.
But didn't Abel slaughter his animals in sacrifice to God?
Yeah.
He offered them, yes, and
Okay.
Cain was to do with fruit,
Yes,
because he was so it's the first fruits of both, really. But the
Okay.
first sacrifice for our sins,
Okay.
yeah, the
Right.
sacrifice was just to say, Lord, this is for you. The one outside of the garden was because of the sin, because the animals used to clothe the nakedness of
Right.
man. The important statement for me in this is not me, this is somebody else. I just wanted to read what they put because there's several trains of thoughts regarding being outside the Garden of Eden. He was with God in the beginning. This is Christ. At the start of creation, this is part of the Creator's already existing. He was not the first. Jesus was not the firstborn or the first created, as some have suggested. I think this has come from where I've missed a bit off because it's not done in blue. We talk about Adam being the first, don't we? The first son of God. But we're also there's another point of view that God had already created man and woman. Then He created Adam and put him in the garden, so that there were people outside of the garden on that point of view. And although Adam was called firstborn, so was King David. But he wasn't. He was seventh. It's an elevated status to birth. I mean, and what they're saying is maybe Adam wasn't the first human, but he was elevated to that status by God, the same as David and Israel was the first nation, but they weren't. But they were elevated to that through God. And I'm wondering if Adam was the same. This is the argument, and I'm just going to go with this for a minute. Chapter 1 is God. It says in chapter 1 that God created man and woman, and then you've got chapter 2 where He created Adam. So we've either got an overall story and a more defined story, or we have two stories. And as we weren't there at the time, we have to there's certain factors involved in both that would suggest both. So let's just look at those. Because Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is more than I can bear. Today you drive me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. Now that to me is off. You can't stay in Eden anymore. Or actually, they weren't in the garden, were they? At this time, they were thrown out. So he's going to have to go somewhere else completely away from his family. I will be restless wanderer of the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. But there's nobody else out there. If we take it that Adam was the first, who's going to kill him? The Lord said to him, not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. Then the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out of the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. If Cain lived in the land of Nod, did Cain find his wife in this land? This is the other argument, and not his sister. It has been suggested that his wife may have been his sister Yahweh, according to the book of Jubilee. And that would account for the slow demise of the human gene pool, introduction of imperfections into what was perfection and long life. Or did Cain find a wife from outside of Eden who was imperfect anyway? Which then would suggest that humanity existed beyond Eden. Also, Cain feared that somebody would kill him whilst travelling around Nod. It later states in Genesis 4 that Cain built a city, but against whom? These are not my arguments, but I thought we could look at them anyway. Why would you build a city for a family of 3? Because he had Enoch and his wife. Why would you build a city? Because you built cities to protect yourself. From whom? God had already protected him and said to the whole of Eden, if anybody touches him. So who else is he afraid of? Were the people already there? Maybe not of the Adamic line. And I wonder also if Cain got his knowledge and his ability to build the city because the book of knowledge, the tree of knowledge, whether that opened up his mind to the possibilities. I think God was right in not doing that, because we end up then building the Tower of Babel because we took the ability to do that and knowledge to do that from out of the garden. Now, the other argument, and I like this one, an angel was posted at the east gate of Eden to stop Adam and Eve going back in and anybody else. So do we need to presume then that it was a walled garden? There's little point in having a gate in a forest. It would have to have a walled garden. So the other thought is on that is, why would you have a walled garden if there was only Adam and Eve existing? The problem with this is it leaves so many questions unanswered that I think an even more in-depth look at what God says is needed. It's 2 chapters. The whole of creation is 2 chapters. But out of that, we can gain so much truth, because the story is worldwide. It's been altered, but the essence of the truth of Jesus, of Adam and Eve being created perfect by God and placed in a garden where they could not be corrupted. The fact that Satan came in and corrupted them This earth is beautiful. It's not Eden, but it's incredible. And we are still attacked by Satan the same way Eve was. Are you sure that God said this? Are you convinced that, there's so much that says that this isn't right, the Bible's not right, but I think if we hold our faith in it, there is a truth within it. There's a glorious truth within it that God created man in his own image, and that we are in the image of God, and we're beautiful. And this earth belongs to us, not the industrialists. It doesn't say there was any restrictions once they went out of the Garden of Eden. This is our world, given to us by our Creator, out of love for us. And to me, that's the whole story about Adam and Eve. Plus the fact, if you check Jesus' genealogy in Matthew, it goes back to Adam. Direct descendant of the first man and woman on earth. Incredible. Amen? Question time.
Can I have all your Bible references so I can put that into the post that we're putting out with this video?
Yes, yeah. It's mainly Genesis 2.
Yeah.
Genesis 1 and 2, really. Or Genesis 2.
I'm hoping those
As a
verses are
whole
right.
story.
Yes. Genesis 2 is on the screen, so therefore the fact it's been mentioned, it will be picked up within the content. All of the content John mentions on this video will appear on the post, and you'll be able to follow any links or wind back on the video to pick anything that you thought, oh, that was interesting, I'll go back to it. You will be able to do that because just to explain, every 10 seconds YouTube picks up the thing that John or yourself is actually raising. Okay, so that's the beauty of it. You can actually look back at what we're putting together here. Yeah.
Also, can I just say, I did speak to Jason actually on Saturday about this. People who don't pick up the Bible every day, no, I really do 100% recommend watching on Prime the Bible. It's the newer version of the Bible, and also about David, a separate documentary about him as well. They've actually got a lot of documentaries on Prime about, and it is, I must admit, it is exact what it says in the Bible as well. So I do recommend people to watch that as well because it's really good, really good.
Mm.
Closing thoughts, John.
Sorry, John.
Any other closing thoughts you got, or anybody else got any closing thoughts?
Because I'd like people's opinions on Cain and Abel and whether they think that there was people outside of it. It's just two different sets of arguments.
Yeah.
I don't really know further than back then Adam and Eve, to be fair. I know the rib and all that stuff what he was on about, but to be fair, I don't know no further than that far back.
Jason?
I'm on the line of what John was saying, to be honest with you, that they created it. All it says, they created man and woman, and then it goes into the personalized part of man and woman in the like elevation. into the Garden of Eden. And it kind of goes inside with also Jacob and Esau. Esau I
Yeah.
hated, but Jacob I loved. It was already decided before they was even born.
So where would we find Jacob and Esau? In which book of the Bible?
That's in Genesis. That's in Genesis as well.
There you go. I do apologise for picking that up. The reason is because if you mention it, then it does get picked up on what we're talking about, and people can actually refer back to it.
Yeah,
That's
and it's also they also talk about it in Romans in the New Testament. If you wanted to kind of go through that side of it as well, but it talks about um, the two ways of thinking of the the path that God wants, the path that the enemy wants.
Mm.
And the path that God wants is you're already chosen before you was even born. The path that the enemy wants is to stop you from seeing it and recognizing it and believing that God's chose you.
Yeah. I think hence the questions, are you sure?
Yeah, it goes
That's
right back to
all
there.
Satan's opening line. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You know, are you sure you were chosen? Are you sure you're loved? Are you sure you're on the right path?
Mm.
doubt, doubt, faith
Yeah.
and doubt. Those two key words that so many people struggle with. Doubt that what you're reading and hearing could actually happen. As John pointed out, the value on Sunday morning, the miracles. What would the Bible be if we didn't have the miracles? We're a book of faith, but the miracles is what inspired people
The
in
Bible's
believing.
coming true so far, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is God's love through miraculous occasion, the Jesus' birth, the miracle. Not
Yeah.
biblically, in some ways, because it was foreseen, but certainly Virgin Mary, etc. You've also got the crossing the river, the Red Sea. I'm trying to think all the other. There's that many different miracles that we read about in the Bible, and the miracles still occur today.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Breaking the brick was one of them as well.
Hmm. So one of the other things that we are preparing for this series of videos is different topics. We've got one for next week, which is angels, and I'll explain the reason why. I did some research back on our website to see what people's favourite topics were, and one of the top topics was angels. So John's looking into that to deliver something on that next week. But what subjects really interest you that you've always wanted to ask John about?
Mm.
Oh, I have to do our research, John.
I'm doing lots of research. Yeah.
And the catch-22 is you're allowed to ask him where to find that particular reference.
Quite interested in David at the moment. I actually find him really interesting, to be fair. I mean, obviously I'm watching the documentary and reading out the Bible as well at the same, well, not exactly at the same time. But when I watch the documentary, I'm actually picking up my Bible to see if it's like, goes with the series sort of thing. And yeah, it's really good.
Mm.
There's lots of different people in the Bible
Mm,
that are
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
John, final thoughts.
Yeah. Mm? Final thoughts that each of us, this is the thought, carry the DNA of Adam and Eve within us, and we reproduce the same DNA into our children. But God-given DNA, God ordered, God's life force placed into Adam and given to us. We still hold that breath of life that was given to Adam. Thought and a half.
I'm going to stop the recording, folks. Bless you all for that. Lots of interesting stuff.